let's get going because I don't want to talk the whole time. So let's do a little bit of shaking. We're going to actively shake the hands. So the hands are relaxed. The wrists, you're bending at the wrists. You don't have to keep the rest of your arms stiff. You can see my, my arms are still moving a little bit, but mostly it's my hands. And then bend from the elbows. You can be floppy as you want, and you can be as vigorous or as gentle as you want. If you want to just do it very lightly, that's fine too. I'm finding I have a lot of pent-up energy and would like to get some of that out. Shoulders. Through the shoulders, and the rest of the arm stays relaxed, but it'll still flop around. And then let's bend the knees a little bit. So when you bend the knees, you can keep shaking your arms if you want to, or you can leave them relaxed and just let them shake. If you want to go up on your toes, get a little bit more bounce, you can do that. But the knees stay soft, the back stays relaxed. Twist from side to side. You might have figured out that this is one of my favorite exercises. I feel like it's a great way to just get rid of all the energy that distracts you from being present. And let's just let the arms relax, turn from side to side. Your head follows your shoulders, follows your hands. I often keep mine forward just so that you can hear me, but you actually want it to turn. And we're trying to keep our hips straight and just turn from the waist. The hips will turn a little bit, but we don't want to do a big turn like this where our hips are also turning and our legs are coming up. You can. That's just a little bit different than what we're doing now. So this is called, I've heard it called ringing the temple bell, ringing the toll house bell too, I think, unless I just am remembering wrong. And dragon swings his whiskers. Good, let's slow it down. Just let the arms relax and come back to center. When I do that, I tend to have a slightly wider stance, so I'm going to bring my stance in a little bit. We want it somewhere between hip width, where the front of those hip bones are, and shoulder width. So a little bit wider, either hip or shoulder, whatever works for you. If you're not sure how wide hip width is, you can leave one foot there, touch the heel to the other foot. I don't even know if you can see this very well. And then pivot on the toes and where the bent foot lands. So we start like this. We've got our toes, we've got our heel, the other heel. So we'd be standing like this, heel over here, butt it up next to the foot. It doesn't have to be in there tight, but it should be touching it. And then pivot on the ball of the foot or on the toes. And that's about hip width. So that's a good starting point. But obviously you want to feel nice and stable. We want the knees to be soft. We want the back to be soft. So if you're like me and you tend to stand like this with your back arched, you want to tuck your pelvis a little bit. You see that? It's almost like I'm sitting on a tall stool. And when I tuck my pelvis, my knees automatically just unlock. So imagine that you're sitting on the edge of a tall stool that's right there under your butt, just kind of leaning against the edge of it, barely perched on it. And that will help to tuck the pelvis under, which helps to flatten the curve a little bit in the back. So it's not going to be completely straight. It's still going to be, there's still be a little bit of a curve there, but it just helps to loosen up the lower back and straighten up the spine a little bit. So we've got feet firmly rooted in the ground, knees soft, pelvis tucked under. That tucking the pelvis also helps to kind of get this bottom heavy kind of feeling that we want. So there's this concept in Qigong and Tai Chi called bottom heavy, top light. So we want the bottom half of our body to be very heavy. We want the top half to be light as a feather. So one way we can do that is to think about a string from the top of the head that's lifting up the crown of our head. So it's not lifting up our nose, it's not lifting up the front, the forehead, it's lifting up the crown of the head, so almost the back. If you imagine a line coming up your spine, all the way up the back, and if the spine were to continue, it's almost like the back of your head lifts up a little bit, your chin tucks just a little, and that helps to lengthen the spine a little bit. Of course, you want to do this while you're relaxed, or you want to do it and be relaxed at the same time, relax into it, which can be difficult. So we don't want to be stiff, pulling our head back. We want to just gently tuck the chin and let the back of the head float up. Bottom heavy, top light. And if we think about this from an energy standpoint, the earth is very dense, right? So we've got the earth energy below us. This is the yin energy in the yin-yang symbol. So we've got the earth energy that's very heavy. We've got the sky energy, or the heavenly energy, that's very light and ethereal. So that's very yang. We've got this heavy earth, heavy, dense, cool earth energy. And then we've got this light, floaty, warm, heavenly energy, or sky energy. You can almost think of it as the air, right? The air is, you know it's there, you know the wind is there, but you don't really see it. You see what it does, you see that it makes trees move, but you don't actually see the wind. Yin is very substantial, right? We can see the earth. We can't really see the heavens. We can't see the sky. We can see things in the sky, but the sky itself we can't see. The wind we can't see. So that's all this kind of, I guess you think of it also in a more spiritual sense, right? We've got the body, the dense body, and then we've got the mind in between, and these spiritual ideas that, again, you can't see. They're not really tangible. So we want to think of the top part of the body to be floating up, but the bottom is firmly rooted. So if you're a helium balloon, you're not going to float away. You have a nice firm base. And just thinking about these concepts while say you're stressed out about something or you're anxious, if you can just think about becoming grounded, but also being light, you can help to bring some of that anxiety down. You can help to bring some of the stress down. You're light as a feather. You're lighthearted. Let's say you're lighthearted. How about that? So you're lighthearted, but you're also firmly rooted in reality. So this is the stance that we take for a lot of Qigong exercises. Sometimes we do move. If you want to, you can shake out your legs. We've been standing still for quite a while. You know, there are lots of exercises, lots of Qigong exercises where we do move, but the ones where we're standing still, for example, lifting the sky, our feet are firmly planted. So we're rooted while we're moving the energy around. So let's talk a little bit about the breath, right? So we've got the physical body, and then we've talked before about the breath. Emotion is expressed in the breath. You can also change your emotions by the way you're breathing. I don't know if I mentioned this last time. I know I talked about crying. So actually, let's just start with some breathing. Nice, slow breathing. Ideally, it's slow and deep. And you can go at your own pace, at a pace that works for you. That's essential in Qigong because you know best for your body. I can't tell you what pace to breathe at. You can put your hands on your belly if you want, your lower belly, also known as the lower dantian. And if you want to, you're welcome to close your eyes. Of course, you can do all of this sitting too. If you do it sitting, your feet are rooted, but your sits bones are also rooted, nice and heavy on the chair. You can breathe out through the mouth if you'd like to, and feel free to sigh, either quietly or audibly. And when you're breathing nice and slowly, you might even be able to take a deeper breath, and you might be able to feel the belly moving, as opposed to just feeling the chest, or sometimes the shoulders come up when we take a deep breath. See if you can think about the air going all the way down into the bottom of the lungs, which then pushes on the diaphragm, which then pushes on the organs, and the organs get pushed forward a little bit, which is why our belly comes out a little bit. That also means that the belly should be nice and soft. So I mentioned the emotions. You can keep breathing. I mentioned the emotions, and I did a little experiment on myself. I don't think it's really ethical to suggest to people to do it. You're welcome to try it, but I never do it in class, but I do talk about it sometimes. If you breathe, think about how different emotions affect your breath, right? If you're panicky, you might be breathing very quickly and very shallowly. But if you're not panicky, you can induce a panic-like state by breathing quickly and shallowly. And it only takes a couple minutes of doing that. Or when you're sad, you might have a sort of brokenness to your breath, a catch in your breath, right? If you do that on purpose, even when you're not sad or you're not crying, you can actually induce that feeling. So you can probably see why I think it's not really ethical to suggest that people try that, but it's quite fascinating how we can actually influence our emotions. And so in the same way, as long as you remember, I was just talking to someone about this today, when you're having a problem, when you're stressed, when you're frustrated, when you're in a state that you don't want to be in, if you can remember to just slow down the breath, try to breathe into the lower lungs to push the belly out a little bit, you can influence your state. It won't happen immediately. It might take a couple minutes. It might take 5 or 10 minutes. But if you can take that time, it's amazing, amazing, amazing what it can do for you. And it gives you a whole new perspective on the problem. Good. All right, let's shake it out a little bit, walk around if you need to. I want to do lifting the spirit again. But actually first, so we did this a few weeks ago. First, I want to talk about nature. So Chinese medicine is based in nature. The original Chinese masters who created this system, they observed nature, and that's how they came up with the this whole medical system. And so I know that nature is important. I know that intellectually. I was kind of blown away the other day when I'm working with a practitioner who we're doing something called the Safe and Sound Protocol, which is a way to help people overcome trauma. And it's listening to different types of music, especially mixed music. So it's songs that you know, but they sound kind of weird. And it's supposed to reprogram the middle ear muscle. I think it's the middle ear muscle. And that helps the body to come out of fight or flight or freeze state and into a more rest and digest, that kind of social engagement, parasympathetic nervous system. And my practitioner I was working on it, and I got back to her with some feedback. You do it in bits and pieces every few days, and she suggested that I try listening to the next batch of songs in nature, where she said, sit in front of a tree. And so I sat outside. It was the other day. It was really sunny, but not too hot. The sun was coming down. I just sat in a chair, and it so happened that chair was, it kind of rocked, which was really nice. And I just sat there and I listened to this music and observed what was going on around me. And I have to say, I had listened to it before and not had a great experience with it. It kind of agitated me. And listening to it outside was amazing, 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 amazing. It was just, I just felt calm. I felt collected. I felt really good about everything. The music didn't bother me the way it had before. And so it was an incredible experience. And when I kind of went inside and said, what made this so much better this time? My body said, it's being in nature. It's being surrounded. I had shoes on. I didn't even have my feet directly on the ground. Though there's a lot of evidence that walking barefoot on the ground is really, really good for you too. But just being surrounded by, I live in this wooded area. The sun was there, smelling the everything that's blooming now in the spring. It was absolutely delightful. So go out in nature, go, go, go. And even if you're someplace where, I know we're all supposed to stay at home, but please try to find someplace in nature that you can go. Even if it's your own yard, it doesn't have to be, the woods or anything like that, or a park or anything. But if you can even just go out in your yard and just kind of appreciate the grass and the bugs and the trees and whatever it is that you can see. So that's my plug for today, my PSA for nature. So lifting the spirit. If you weren't here before, we'll go over this quickly. And if you did do this before, then you can really, really, really get into it. So this has 3 parts. We start with the palms up, coming up to about waist level, and then pressing down. So it's pressing down the sides of the body, kind of even with the sides of the body. Shoulders are relaxed. We bring the hands up and breathe in. Breathe out and let the hands float down. And then on to part 2. We lift up to chest height and then push out to the front. Let the hands float back to your shoulders. Elbows go back a little bit and then push forward. This is called pushing mountains. So lifting the spirit is a combination of several different movements. On to part 3. Hands go out to the front. Turn your arms rotate your arms so your fingers are facing each other. Lift up to above your face, and then let the arms float down to the sides. So we just do one of those. So we lift up. I'm going to come in here, since you don't need to see the bottom part of my body. Feet are about shoulder width apart, hip to shoulder width. So I'm lifting up and pressing down. Breathe in, lift up, and this time press forward. When I press forward, I'm not like a piston. I'm making a small ellipse so that it's a nice, smooth, continuous motion, right? I'm not going out here, stopping, and then coming back in. I'm doing a skinny ellipse. Push one more out to the front. Rotate the arms so the fingers face each other, up above the head. And you're not going to go way back here. You're just going to go in front of your face and then let them float down to the side. Let's do a few more of these. Lifting up and down. You do 3 of each. Well, 3 of the first 2 and then 1 of the last. Armando, it's good to see you. Hola, amigo. Lift up, push out to the front. Remember, nice soft ellipse. You don't need to straighten your arms all the way, but you can. They're straight but not locked. We push out one more time. Fingers face each other, lift up, and let the arms float down. Let's add in the breathing. So we breathe in and lift up, breathe out, and press down. Once you know this well enough, you would do it on your own with your own pace of breathing. I'm probably going a little bit fast because I'm talking through this. Push out to the front. So breathe in as the hands come in. Breathe out as they push out. Again, you can breathe in gently through the nose. You can breathe out through the mouth if you want to. Gets a little bit more out in my experience. Push out, rotate the hands, lift up, breathe in, and breathe out and let the arms float down. We'll do 2 more rounds of this because it's just awesome. I think I always say, oh, this is my favorite movement. This is definitely one of my favorites. I like this. It opens up the heart. Lift up and push forward. So when I'm pushing forward, even when I'm lifting, my hands are coming pretty close to the body, so it opens up the chest just a little bit. And then opens up that heart space. Breathe in, breathe out, rotate the arms, breathe in and lift up, and breathe out and float down. One more set. If you know lifting the sky, you also know, so that's the third part of the movement that we do, you also know that there's a little stretch. I'll try to remember to mention that this time. It's a stretch from the bottoms of the feet all the way up to the tips of the fingers. Lift up, press out, and breathe out. If you're not getting the breath, it's okay, just keep breathing. Doesn't it feel good to sigh sometimes? I've been in sighing mode recently. Fingers face each other, lift up, stretch the body. You're just stretching a tiny bit, but it's so great. All right, and shake the arms out, shake the legs out, walk around a little bit if you want to. I'm feeling particularly stiff today too. All right, so let's do, we're going to close with, I'm blanking on the name, Gathering Chi from the Cosmos, which is just breathing in, letting the arms float up to above the head, and then breathing out and letting them float down in front of your body. Again, feet hip to shoulder width apart. Knees are relaxed, they're soft. One more. Breathe in and breathe out. Good. All right, let's walk around. I don't know about you, but I am feeling particularly floaty tonight. I had a lot of energy that I needed to get out, but I think, I don't know, maybe it all went out through my head because I'm feeling like I'm really laid back and relaxed. So cool. Good to see everybody. Let me know you're here. I know Armando's here, Leslie, Teresa, and I will put the link to the survey in the comments as soon as I finish this. And so check it out. And if you haven't already filled out the survey, then you are more than welcome to. Thank you so much for being here. I'll stick around for a couple minutes in case anyone has any questions or comments. And JT, thank you. Oh my gosh. JT, are you still doing online classes? I haven't been on Facebook. I haven't been on my personal Facebook page in a little while. I'm taking a break. Facebook is not, I don't think it's good for my mental health. I don't think it's good for anyone's mental health. But I'm keeping up on the business page, trying to avoid a lot of the personal stuff. Leslie, you're welcome. So glad you enjoyed it. JT, okay, so JT, put the URL to your class. So JT also teaches Qigong, and we actually met in an online class, but it turned out we lived right near each other when I lived in Boston. It was kind of crazy. And so he's been doing some awesome classes in the mornings, and it's definitely worth checking out. I think they were at 9 o'clock, and but JT, definitely put your classes in there. Armando, if you're still here, and if you're teaching any classes, please put them in there. And if anybody wants classes, I assume if he's doing them, I assume he's doing them in Spanish. So he lives in Mexico, I think, last I heard. But that would be really awesome to do some classes with him. Armando's a great guy. Leslie, yes, very negative. Facebook. I mean, everything out there, I think, has been. I think people are really frustrated that they're stuck at home. I personally work from home. I mean, I do go out to teach, but I do a lot of stuff at home, and I kind of joke that my butt is just gonna get rooted to the couch at some point, and so it's it's not that different for me. But I do get the whole like wanting to, sometimes I want to run out to the store or something, and I don't always feel like I can do that. But a lot of people who are used to going out, going to work someplace else, and they're at home now, and maybe they're not used to spending this much time with their family, even though you love your family. Sometimes maybe you don't want to spend that much time with them, or maybe you live alone and you're part of your regular social interaction is with people from work. Even if you're not friends with them, even if you don't hang out with them after work, it can be really hard for people who are feeling really isolated. And so I think that's coming out in really negative ways. People are really kind of, they're struggling, and they don't know how to express their frustration at the whole situation, or their sadness, or their stress, or their anxiety, or or they're stuck at home and they're not working at all, and they don't know how they're going to pay their rent. So it's really kind of dredging up the worst in humanity, but I think it's also dredging up the best in humanity. I've just heard some amazing stories about. I was just talking to a longtime family friend last night who so she's older, and she is trying not to leave the house, and she's had some neighbors get in touch with her and say, hey, I'm going to the grocery store, can I get you something? She said people who usually are only in their backyards are in their front yards now, so the backyards are all walled off. They're in this community, and you don't really interact with people in the backyards, across backyards, and so people are in their front yards now, which are a little more accessible, even though they're right on the street. And they are, they're talking to each other. They're still keeping their distance, but people, she said, I've met people that I didn't even know lived here. And so it's been pretty amazing. I think there's a lot of good that's coming out of it, even though there's a lot of frustration. So, Dale, great to see you. Yay. Julie said thanks too. Awesome. Yeah, I'll have to email her. Is Julie, I'm wondering if Julie's actually taken the class. That would be really awesome. I know that Sonia, the financial coordinator, did. So Dale, I know Dale from the senior center that I taught at in Boston. He actually took over my classes, and they're amazing. I've heard such great feedback. And Julie was my contact there. She's the person who coordinates all the events there. And Sonia's the financial coordinator. So I'm still in touch with them, and I'm so glad that they're that we're able to kind of offer this. They posted my class on their website, which is just incredible. They're such awesome people. So Dale, good to see you. You're welcome. JT, so you can either click on his link in his profile in the comments and get to where he is, or just search JT Turner, and 9 a.m. Eastern time weekdays, tune into his classes, and I will let you know what's going on with my classes after I figure it out. So hopefully after tomorrow I'll have a little bit of a sense of what will happen. For the foreseeable future, I'll probably continue them on Tuesdays until I find a time that works for everybody's. Tuesday was my regular class time that I taught in person, and so I've just continued with that. So yeah. JT, love that you're offering this. Yeah, I do too. I have to say, people were, people at the center where I was teaching was saying, oh, you're going to charge people for this? And I said, no, I feel like I just need to people need Qigong. They need an outlet. They need a way to relax. They need a way to get rid of stress. And so anyway, we'll see what happens as we continue with that. Obviously, I also need to earn some money. I need to be able to pay rent and eat. And so the classes will, ultimately, there'll be some fee for some of the classes. Maybe I'll still do a free one. I'm not quite sure yet, but we'll see. We'll see what happens, and we'll see what people want. So go in and fill out my survey and let me know. And I will put that link in the comments right now. So awesome. Thank you guys. We'll see you soon. Thank you so much for being here. It means so much to me. I just can't even tell you how much. I love being able to practice with people. Even though I can't see you, it still feels like we're all together. And since I know some of you in person too, that's super exciting. All right. See you later. Bye.